I got straight on a plane to return. Seeing my wife have to be her strongest and knowing that it's the scariest of news.
After years of rumors, broken relationships, and quiet reflection, Brad Pitt finally admits the truth about the woman he could never forget. For decades, fans have watched him live through fame, fortune, and heartbreak. Yet behind his calm smile was a secret he never truly shared. Beneath all the red carpets and flashing cameras, there was one woman who captured his heart in a way no one else ever could. She wasn't just another Hollywood love story. She was the one who changed him, inspired him, and left a lasting imprint on his life. In this video, we'll uncover the emotional truth Brad Pitt has finally revealed about the woman he could never let go of, no matter how much time passed. Brad Pitt was born on December 18, 1963, in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and raised in Springfield, Missouri. A small-town boy with big dreams, he studied journalism in college, but left just 2 credits short of graduating, driving to Los Angeles with little more than determination. To survive, he worked odd jobs, famously dressing as a chicken for a fast food chain while chasing auditions. His good looks opened doors, but it was his charm and grit that kept him in the game. By the late 80s, he was landing small television roles, slowly building his resume. Then came his breakthrough in Thelma and Louise, 1991, where his short but magnetic role as a drifter stole the spotlight and made him Hollywood's newest heartthrob. From there, Pitt proved he was more than just a pretty face, taking on diverse roles in films like A River Runs Through It, 1992, Legends of the Fall, 1994, and The Haunting C-17, 1995. By the mid-1990s, he had become both a box office star and a respected actor, poised for a career that would define generations. Before Brad Pitt became one of Hollywood's brightest stars, his love life was a winding road of fleeting romances, tender beginnings, and heartbreaks that now read like chapters in a coming-of-age novel. One of his earliest loves was British pop singer Sunita. From 1986 to 1988, they shared a youthful passion before the world knew his name. Years later, she would look back on his beauty and sweetness with awe, joking that when she saw him in Thelma and Louise, she thought, "What have I done?" The price of loving him wasn't always sweet. She recalled even being slapped by a fan outside a supermarket, a sign of how quickly Pitt's presence could stir emotions. Not long after, he found himself drawn to actress Jill Schoelen while filming the horror flick Cutting Class. Their spark was brief, as was his next romance with voice actress E.G. Daly. She described him as soulful and driven, someone already consumed by the fire of something greater than himself. Even when they parted, they carried a lasting friendship. Then came Robin Givens, whose life was unraveling from her troubled marriage to Mike Tyson. Pitt worked with her on Head of the Class, and whispers soon swirled. Tyson later claimed he caught Pitt with her, painting a dramatic picture in his memoir, though Givens clarified the story, admitting only that Pitt once pulled into her driveway with her after a screening. In 1989, Pitt was briefly linked to Christina Applegate, who brought him as her date to the MTV Movie Awards. Yet in a twist fit for Hollywood itself, she famously ditched him mid-event for another man, a secret she has never revealed. More serious was his romance with Juliette Lewis. The two met in 1989, worked together on Too Young to Die in California, and stayed together for nearly 4 years. Pitt later called it one of the greatest relationships of his life, though he admitted love alone couldn't conquer everything. Juliette, however, grew weary of always being defined by her time with him. Decades later, she would plead for people to remember her beyond Brad Pitt and the wild years. In 1994, Pitt appeared at the Legends of the Fall premiere with model Jitka Polodek, who said simply, "The man glows." But it was his next romance that captured the world's attention: Gwyneth Paltrow. Meeting on the set of SE7N, they became Hollywood's golden couple. Pitt called her "the love of my life" in his Golden Globe speech, and their engagement seemed like destiny. But in 1997, it quietly unraveled. Paltrow later confessed her father adored Pitt and was devastated by the split. She herself remembered the proposal in Argentina as a moment of pure magic, one etched forever in her heart. That love, like so many before, became another memory wrapped in nostalgia, proof that even the brightest flames can flicker out. Yet every heartbreak carried him toward the next chapter. After Gwyneth came Jennifer Aniston, and with her, Pitt stepped into a romance that would become one of the most talked-about love stories Hollywood had ever seen. The story of Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston began not with fireworks, but with a quiet introduction back in 1994. Their managers thought they should meet, and when they did, Jennifer remembered Brad simply as a sweet guy from Missouri, a normal guy. Nothing more, nothing less. Life carried them in different directions until fate circled back. By 1998, both were newly single. She had ended her romance with Tate Donovan, and he had parted ways with fiancée Gwyneth Paltrow. Once again, their managers arranged a meeting, and this time, the spark finally caught. Jennifer later confessed to Diane Sawyer that their first date felt effortless, filled with laughter and ease. Soon after, Hollywood, and the world, couldn't take their eyes off them. In September 1999, the pair made their red carpet debut at the Emmy Awards. Brad, in silver sunglasses, and Jennifer, shimmering in sequins, became an instant symbol of golden love. 2 months later, during a Sting concert in New York, they announced their engagement. Jennifer's diamond and platinum ring, designed by Silvia Damiani, was said to have taken Brad 7 months to perfect, a quiet testament to his devotion. On July 29, 2000, they were married in Malibu in what seemed like a fairy tale. 200 guests, 50,000 flowers, a gospel choir, and fireworks lit up the California sky. Jennifer's father walked her down the aisle, later saying simply, "She looked beautiful." To the world, it was perfection. A princess gown, a $1 million celebration, and 2 of Hollywood's brightest stars beginning a life together. For a while, it seemed unshakable. They graced red carpets arm in arm, and in 2001, Brad even appeared on Friends, ironically playing a man who disliked Jennifer's character. The following year, they matched in sleek black suits at the Golden Globes, their mirrored blonde hair a playful sign of unity. They even built something lasting beyond themselves, Plan B Entertainment, a production company that grew into a powerhouse of modern cinema. But behind the glamour, cracks quietly formed. By 2004, while their professional dreams soared, the pressure of fame and distance began to weigh heavily. Their fairy tale, built under Hollywood's brightest spotlight, was already facing shadows. By the early 2000s, the golden couple of Hollywood was already carrying questions beneath the polished surface. In 2003, Jennifer Aniston sat down with W magazine, and when the interviewer referred to Brad as the love of her life, she hesitated. With quiet honesty, she admitted she wasn't sure. "He's certainly a big love in my life," she reflected, adding that what they shared felt precious amid the chaos of their demanding world. To her, he was an anchor, someone who truly knew her in a way few ever could. A year later, she spoke to The Guardian about a different dream, the desire to start a family. "It's time," she said with conviction, imagining a life where she could balance motherhood with her career. It sounded like the beginning of a new chapter. Yet only months later, in January 2005, that dream collapsed. Brad and Jennifer released a joint statement confirming their separation after 7 years together. They carefully dismissed rumors of scandal, framing their decision as a thoughtful, difficult choice. With grace, they asked for privacy, insisting they would part as friends, bound by love and respect. But endings, no matter how gently worded, cut deep. On March 25th, Jennifer filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. By October, it was finalized. That same month, she broke her silence in a raw Vanity Fair interview. She described the grief as a shattering, one that cracked her open and forced her to feel everything. She admitted it was agonizing to endure so personal a loss under the glare of the world. Then came the photos. Brad with Angelina Jolie in Kenya. Jennifer confessed it pierced her, a cruel reminder that the chapter had closed. "I can't say it was one of the highlights of my year," she said with candor, before joking bitterly that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The media, however, refused to let her move on, casting her as the wounded figure in a love triangle she never wanted to play. "I am not defined by this relationship," she said firmly, longing for people to stop reducing her to heartbreak. Time softened the sharp edges. After Brad split from Jolie in 2017, whispers of friendship resurfaced. He attended her 50th birthday in 2019, and in 2020, fans delighted in their warm reunion backstage at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. Yet those who dreamed of rekindled romance were mistaken. Jennifer herself clarified in 2021. They were friends, nothing more. The beginning of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's story was written on a film set. In 2003, they were cast as the feuding, secretly assassin couple in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad was still married to Jennifer Aniston, and both he and Angelina insisted they hadn't fallen in love right away. Yet as Jolie later recalled in a 2007 Vogue interview, the long days together changed something. "Because of the film, we were thrown into these crazy situations," she said. What began as playful camaraderie slowly grew into a deeper bond. Months into filming, Angelina admitted she caught herself looking forward to work, eager just to see him. They became a pair, teammates who moved together with an ease neither expected. She claimed she knew little about his personal life, only that he seemed devoted to someone he deeply respected. Still, by the time filming ended, both realized their connection was no longer just professional. By January 2005, Brad and Jennifer had announced their separation. Later that year, Angelina expanded her family, adopting baby Zahara to join her first son, Maddox. In early 2006, Brad legally gave both children his name, a gesture that symbolized a new beginning. Soon after, Angelina confirmed she was carrying his child. In May, their daughter Shiloh was born in Namibia, her arrival greeted by a frenzy of worldwide attention. The couple finally stepped into the public spotlight as partners that December at the New York premiere of The Good Shepherd. By 2007, their family grew again with the adoption of son Pax from Vietnam. A year later, Angelina arrived at the Independent Spirit Awards, radiant and visibly pregnant. The world soon learned she was expecting twins. On July 12, 2008, she gave birth to Knox Leon and Vivienne Marceline, completing a brood that made headlines as much for its size as its symbolism. Angelina would later call their household chaos, but wonderful. Their love, at least in those years, seemed inseparable from the family they built together. For the outside world, it looked like a fairy tale. Two global stars raising children, building a home, and holding the spotlight. Yet beneath the glamour, the seeds of a complicated, fragile story were already being sown. Divorce and fallout dash. By 2012, the fairy tale facade of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's family life still seemed intact. Their children had begun urging them to marry, and that April, news of their engagement spread, sealed with a ring said to be worth nearly $1 million. 2 years later, on August 23, 2014, they wed in the small chapel at Chateau Miraval in France. Jolie walked down the aisle in a gown stitched with her children's artwork, while the kids even helped write their vows. It was important to us that the day was full of laughter, they shared, describing it as a moment of pure happiness. Their honeymoon blurred into work when they starred together in By the Sea, 2015, a film about a fractured marriage, though at the time, few suspected how prophetic it might be. Just 2 years after the wedding, on September 20, 2016, Angelina filed for divorce. Her representative called it a choice made for the health of the family, while Brad, in his own statement, admitted he was very saddened, asking only that their children be spared from the storm of public scrutiny. Rumors soon swirled about a heated argument aboard a private plane, with allegations that Brad had become physical. He denied harming his children, and investigations by Child Services and the FBI found no evidence of abuse, eventually closing the case. But the fracture was permanent. By April 2019, a judge declared them legally single, though their legal entanglement stretched on for years. Custody battles and financial disputes dragged into 2024, when their divorce was finally settled. And yet, the shadow of Chateau Miraval, the vineyard they once cherished, still binds them in court. What began with laughter on a movie set ended with filings, hearings, and heartbreak. Their love story, once the most glamorous in Hollywood, did not close neatly. Instead, it lingers like unfinished business, a reminder that even the brightest flames can leave behind the longest shadows. After the storm of his split from Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt tread carefully back into the world of companionship. For years, he remained guarded until whispers in 2018 tied him to MIT professor and architect Neri Oxman. Friends suggested Pitt was finally ready to explore romance again, looking for someone who could challenge him beyond the superficial, a hope inspired perhaps by watching George Clooney's marriage to Amal. The speculation fizzled when Oxman denied any relationship, though she spoke of Pitt with rare admiration, calling him the last of the Mohicans in post-Netflix Hollywood, a man who embodied both the modern and the timeless. By 2020, Pitt's name was linked to German model Nicole Poturalski. They were spotted together at Chateau Miraval, and reports described their time as flirty and playful. Yet insiders were quick to clarify that it was more fleeting than substantial. By autumn that year, it was said to be nothing more than a casual fling. Still, they kept in touch sporadically, as old acquaintances sometimes do. In 2022, his name surfaced again, this time beside model Emily Ratajkowski. She was newly separated, and though sources described their connection as light-hearted, conversations about art, shared laughs, and a welcome distraction, the timing wasn't meant for permanence. By the year's end, their paths drifted apart. But November 2022 marked a quiet shift. At a Bono concert in Los Angeles, Pitt was seen with Inez de Ramon, who was emerging from a recent separation. Unlike the fleeting stories before, this one deepened. They were soon seen at the premiere of Babylon, celebrating Pitt's 59th birthday, where friends remarked on his radiant mood. Observers noticed how he leaned into her presence, as though she brought light into the shadows he'd carried for years. By early 2024, Inez had moved into his Los Angeles home, and those close to him described their bond as steady and deeply affectionate. That September, they walked the Venice red carpet together at the premiere of Wolf's. For a man who once kept his private life hidden, stepping into the spotlight beside her spoke volumes. The past has a way of never fully letting go, and for Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston, echoes of their time together still lingered long after their marriage ended. In 2007, 2 years after their separation, Pitt spoke candidly in V magazine, saying that he and Jen had preserved a deep friendship, a shared life that could never truly be erased. Reflecting on their split, he admitted he wasn't sure how better it could have been handled, but believed that matters of the heart were private and that life was too short not to be lived fully. Public fascination, however, never faded. Then, in January 2020, the world watched with renewed intensity when Brad and Jen reunited backstage at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. She had just won for the morning show, and he had his own victory that night. Their embrace, warm, genuine, and unguarded, was captured on camera, sparking a frenzy. 15 years after their divorce, one smile and one hug were enough to stir old hopes in millions of fans. Insiders insisted it was simply two old friends congratulating each other. Yet the tenderness in their interaction told a deeper story of familiarity and care. Later that year, they appeared together again, this time on screen. Both joined a virtual charity table read of fast times at Ridgemont High. Playing flirtatious characters, they slipped into dialogue with ease, laughing alongside the cast as the internet dissected their undeniable chemistry. Aniston later insisted there was nothing awkward about it, describing Pitt simply as a buddy, adding that the supposed tension existed only in the minds of those watching. Yet the truth was, their bond had always been layered with complexity. Back in 2006, not long after their split, Jen had confessed in an interview that she hoped they could someday be friends. She spoke of Brad with affection, even reverence, admitting she would always love him and cherishing the intense 7 years they shared. What pained her most was how the world reduced their relationship to a Hollywood cliché, when in reality it had been rich with lessons, healing, and joy. Her words, spoken with vulnerability, proved lasting. Over the years, their actions echoed that sentiment: support, laughter, respect, and moments of quiet solidarity. They may never return to what they once were, but each reunion, each glance, reminds the world of the love that shaped them. For many, Jennifer Aniston remains the one great what-if of Brad Pitt's life. A past that feels less like history and more like a chapter that never fully closed.